Assalamu alaikum and peace be with you, brothers and sisters of humanity. Welcome to another short video. This is going to be very short because a young woman sent me a message and she asked me, she said, you've been talking about a few things here and there lately. Why don't you talk about what's happening in Iran and about the hijab? Are you pro hijab or against the hijab? I I actually had a very interesting thing happen to me. I remember my mother always, my mother would always tell me, we were in Minnesota at the time, and she would advise me to put on the hijab. I've always had long, beautiful, wavy hair, and I had this look of sort of being seen as a citizen of the world. I could be from many parts of the world. People would just see me as someone who's from South America, Middle East, African American, Ethiopian, usually anything but Somali at the time. Um, and so I kind of like that feeling of being seen as a citizen of the world, having that familiar look. And I've always been kind of religious, very spiritual person. Um, I have been regularly praying, rarely missing a prayer since I was about 22 years old, if not younger. So I've always been someone who's very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know some of my brothers will not see me as such, but I've actually always been a very conservative kind of a person with traditional values, for the most part. I mean, if you go back and see some of my videos a few months ago, you will know what I'm talking about. I am one of those people that find religion, especially Islam, very, very simple, straightforward. But anyway, I'm sidestepping the question. But going back to the hijab, I moved to another state from Washington D.C., where I was working for Voice of America at the time, and I've decided to move to Minnesota. I moved there because I wanted to tell important stories and be, where the largest Somali population in the country at the time. It still is, actually. And so my mother was kind of embarrassed for me and would always tell me, why don't you just wear the hijab, put on the hijab? And I remember telling my mother, well, I am going to wear the hijab when I'm ready to wear the hijab. I am not ready to put on the hijab. I'm not going to do it because people will give me strange looks because, most Somali women in Minnesota are hijabis. And people will actually look at you in a very strange way. Like when I go to restaurants, I would be told to sit in a private room, and I would say, no, I'm just gonna sit here. It's a restaurant. And when I tell them I am Somali, people were very, very surprised. And so men especially would just directly ask me why I wasn't wearing the hijab. They don't shy away from that. And, we would have a discussion about it, and I would tell them, well, one day when I'm ready, I'll wear the hijab. So then I wrote about this. I wrote several articles, and also there's been several interviews where I talked about this, but I was under a lot of stress, and my hair literally started falling out. So I've decided, you know what, I'm just going to shave my hair off and have a fresh start. And I did that. Within the same day, I remember dropping my daughter to school. I talked about this in many interviews, If you Google my name, interviews will come up in articles and um, audios. Anyway, um, in the morning, I remember dropping my daughter off, coming back, shaving my hair off, and leaving the house wearing a hijab. Obviously, I wasn't going to go out bald. Um, and it's like I went to sleep and woke up into a different world. The way people treated me and looked at me was completely different. Uh, I've encountered some, I've actually encountered some hatred and discrimination within the first few days of wearing the hijab. So coming from someone who was not a hijabi, who was just all lovey-dovey and who was seen as a citizen of the world and just, oh, you know, it was like I lived in a bubble, to someone who is clearly seen as the other was something almost terrifying in the beginning. But eventually, I just felt so good wearing the hijab. I felt like I was being hugged all the time, always being embraced. The plan was to take the hijab off once my hair come back, you know. And it was God's plan, Allah's plan, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then, you know, when my hair grew a little bit to around here, I've decided one day I was invited to a dinner. It was only ladies. So I've decided, you know, I thought, you know, I'm just gonna go without wearing a hijab. I just couldn't leave the house. I felt naked, cold. So it became so obvious to me that, wow, this is really what the hijab's about. It's a protection. It's an embrace. I've decided to keep it on, and I've had it ever since. I have 2 daughters now. My older one decided when she was only 11 years old that she was going to become a hijabi. I never told her to wear it. She's, in many ways, she's kind of like me. She's a natural born religious person, but even more conservative in terms of the way she dresses. I still wear pants. I love pants. I like wearing pants and long shirts because I move fast, and wearing dresses and skirts, I feel like kind of limit my, it's just more psychological, I think. It's just, I feel faster when I'm wearing pants, and I feel more secure, you know. If there's an attack, if I have to run, if I fall down, I feel like I'm secure, my body's secure. She didn't need me telling her anything. So yeah, I love the hijab. When I see, you know, non-Muslim woman whose hair is fading and whose beauty is fading, I always picture, oh, if they could wear a hijab, they would look so beautiful. But I don't think hijab has nothing to do with how religious someone is. I know a lot of people that wear a lot of clothing, layers and layers upon layers, who do a lot of crazy things and privately are not religious at all. For example, back home, a lot of people, they have to wear, a lot of women have to wear the hijab. You don't know, It's just a cover. They are forced to. So I don't think clothing has anything to do with the relationship that someone has with its creator. It's just fabric. Yes, I think women look beautiful wearing the hijab. It's modest, it's beautiful, it's soothing. I don't judge people based on whether or not they're hijabis. I don't look at someone and say, ah, she's wearing the hijab, she must be religious. And you know, look at someone else and say, oh, she's muslimah, but she's not wearing the hijab. Shukola, huh? What is she doing? What is she up to? What is she doing? No, that's something between Allah and its servant. We have much, much bigger problems in the Muslim world. I think there was a survey done several years back. 38% of Muslim women wear the hijab. It's not a lot. Let's say even 45%, 50%. Still half of Muslim women are not wearing the hijab. Yet I don't think they're the problem. I think the people at the helm who think the religion belongs to them, in this case, our brothers, are the problem. I think it's their fault that Muslims, almost 2 billion strong, are being treated as if we are a minority in the world. The reason we are left behind does not have anything to do with Muslim women, but has everything to do with Muslim men. Whatever is happening to Muslims, and however Islam is being seen, is the fault of Muslim men who are at the helm. That's my personal opinion when it comes to the hijab. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I answered the question. I'm not feeling well, so I feel like I've been kind of all over the place. Thank you so much again.